All right. Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for joining Dan and I on our monthly webinar series where we like to educate you on the Votacall One platform. While we give folks a few more minutes to join, we'll go over a couple housekeeping items. In the bottom right corner of your screen, there is a questions tab. If you have any questions, feel free to enter your questions in there. Dan and I will do our best to answer questions as we go along, and we will take time at the end to go over all the questions as well. Right next to the questions tab is a polls tab. Please hop over to the polls there and let us know what you want to learn more about next, and we'll be back next month with another Votacall One webinar. Last month's webinar, we spotlighted the basic user portal. This time, we're going to be taking a look at the call center agent portal, and we'll go over the differences there. I guess we'll do some introductions. I'm Kyle. I'm a product manager. I onboard brand new customers. I see some of you here that I've worked with and am currently working with. And Mr. Dan Nicklin is with us as well.
Hi, everybody. That's all right. I think it's because you threw Mr. in there. But I am Dan, and I work with Kyle. I am the director of our pre-sales engineering group at this time. I used to be a project manager myself and ran that group for a little while, but I've moved on to more of the pre-sale stuff. And I definitely see some familiar faces in here. A quick shout out to Ellen. Hey, Ellen. It's been a long time. Ellen's a long time customer, and I think she's on her third or fourth phone system with us now. So hopefully Votacall One will be the last one we ever move you to. We're real happy with where this is now. So thank you again for coming. By the way, with questions, everybody, one of the things that Kyle didn't say is no one else can see them. So feel free to throw whatever you want out there, and you'll be sure that that no one else will know that happened. Also, if you guys want to just, fire in there, even though it's not really a question, if you just want to just let us know if there's anything that you want to take away from this today, like, could we cover this? Could we cover that? We'd be happy to do that with you as well. Also a good time to remind you that Votacall is a managed solution. So 24/7, 365 support, training, whatever you need from us. And while these webinars aren't really a training, as we come across stuff, if you feel like you need some training on something, just let us know in the questions tab, and we'll be happy to schedule some time with you as soon as we're done. Or you can always email support@votacall.com, and we'll be happy to take care of that as well. All right. I think that's the end of my spiel.
All right. If you want to find any of our previous webinars, you can hop over to votacall.com, across the top, select resources, and you'll see an option for on-demand webinars. If you see anything during this webinar or on those previous webinars that piques your interest, feel free to send an email to support@votacall.com, and we'll schedule time to have a more in-depth conversation and see what we can do for you. All right. So let's jump in and get started. So what are we learning today? So we're going to share my screen. We're going to do a portal overview, specifically focus on the call center agents. We'll do a feature review. We're going to go over some tips and tricks, and we'll point out some of our favorites as well. I'm going to throw up a slide that'll have links to our resources and training materials. So why use the My Votacall portal? Well, access is everything. Your phone system is more than just a phone. But Dan, why use the portal?
Well, and we just received a question here from Lisa. And Lisa wanted to know, like, what is an agent? So I think those two things tie together pretty well. So first of all, the portal is myvotacall.com. And, anybody, basically, it's a portal where you can go and manage your users. It's also the same place where an admin could go. So it depends on what credentials you sign in with. And I think that, an agent, just to cover this, is going to be any member of a group of phones that rings at the same time, right? So you could be an agent if you have a sales group and it rings at 4 different people. You're essentially an agent if you're one of those 4 people inside of what we traditionally would call a hunt group. Now, the difference here is that the views are slightly different. Depending on how you're set up in the portal by your project manager or by the office manager of your system. And so when we talk about access is everything, it's kind of a, it's a marketing jargon in some ways. And, it is a great line, but it is very true, right? So access to some of the things that we're going to show you today is everything, right? And so Kyle, why don't you just jump to the next slide and show folks some of the things that you have access to as an agent inside the portal.
Yep. As Dan mentioned, to access the portal, you go to myvotacall.com. You would have been provided a username and password or sent a welcome email where you can create your password to log in. As a call center agent, when you do log into the portal, you're going to have access to different views than our previous webinar, which focused on the basic user. So you would have access to your own call center statistics. So you can see your own call stats, how many calls you've taken, your talk time, and so forth. You would have your queue status toggle that logs you in and out of those call queues. You also have access to a vision analytics dashboard, which we're going to show you that here shortly. It's another place to see stats, but also more stats. You're going to have access to the Votacall Go web phone, which is one of my favorites because it's one place for everything. One view allows you to make and take calls right from your computer. You're going to also have access to your call recordings, call reporting, call notes, which is another one of my favorites, which we're going to show you here shortly, and visual voicemail. And of course, there's more. So I'm going to hop over here and share my screen. We'll do a tutorial. I'm going to turn off my camera while I share my screen just for performance purposes.
But don't worry, I'll stay here, folks, and keep smiling at you.
Thanks,
I
Dan.
know Kyle covered the. Hey, no problem. I know Kyle covered the polls. Please do click on the polls and let us know some other things that you'd like to see on this. Knowing the fact that we did the basic user view last month and that we're doing the call center view, agent view this month, I'm guessing we're probably moving to supervisor view next month. But we're always looking for thoughts and ideas on things that people want to see as we come here and we try to do these for folks.
Awesome. All right, so here's the login page for the My Votacall portal. We're going to start off with a tip and trick right here. So although you might have a username and password, the tip and trick is there's 3 single sign-on options. So you can sign in with your Google password, your Apple password, or your Office 365 password. I'm going to log in with my Office 365, so I'm going to click on that. I'm going to click on my Microsoft account here. And because my email address is associated to different extensions and users, I have these different options here. So for today's purpose, I'm going to log in as the training call center user. And once we're in the portal, we're going to be on our landing page for the call center agent. And I'm going to hand this over to Dan.
Okay. So when you land on your landing page, appropriately named, you get a quick view on the call center itself, right? So you get a quick view on all the features that are sort of here for you from a call center perspective or an agent perspective. Now, again, I don't want you guys to think of this as, well, I'm not an agent, we're not a call center, right? Everybody will, as we go through this, you'll start to see that this can benefit anyone who's a member of a group. And we'll talk about why, and we'll cover some case studies a little bit later in this. But first and foremost, you see the call queues that you're a member of, right? So we can see here that there's customer service 1, customer service 2, and the training queue. We can see what type of call queue they are. They ring all, round robin, etc. You've got what priority you are in those queues. Is there any wrap-up time set? And if anybody wants to know what wrap-up time is, we can cover that a little bit later. And then how many callers are waiting in these queues? All right, so you can see that we're online in all of the queues now. And then if you look up to the right, there's a big green button that says online. And if you were to click on that, it would actually just take you offline. Okay. And then once you're offline, you could actually bring yourself back into specific queues. So training queue is my priority queue. So maybe what I'll do there is I'll bring myself online in the training queue. Okay. And now you can see I'm green there. My button went green online over to the right, but I'm still not signed into customer service 1 or customer service 2. Now, if I see callers start to stack up in there, maybe I'm secondary for those groups, and I might go ahead and try to grab one of those calls. Now, one of the other things that you can do with the big green button is actually set custom statuses. All right. So if Kyle shows there, we can go offline, end the shift, go to lunch, break, meeting, other. And those are going to be visible to the supervisors of the system and can actually also be reported on. So those are pretty interesting features and functions. Below that, you see your vision analytics boards, and we're going to let Kyle's going to show you a little bit about those in just a little bit. And so we'll skip over that one for now. And then you've got your statistics, right? So down below, not only do you see how many calls, so how many call center calls did we take today? Well, one, and it was 1 minute and 3 seconds. How many inbound calls today? Well, one. 2 minutes of inbound talk time, inbound average. Then you've got outbound calls today, and there's one there as well, and that lasted about 13 seconds. So not only do you see your call center stats, but you also see your individual stats for what you've been doing, like direct calls to you or inbound calls outside of the call center, including, like in inbound to like your DID or those sorts of things. So below that, you see your recent call history. And you can see there that, the little green with an outbound arrow, that's outbound call. The blue with an inbound, that's going to be an inbound phone call. And then to the left of that, you've got some graphs just on how you've been doing for the last week, what percentages of calls that you've answered, et cetera. And if you remember multiple queues, those would show up there in the little pie chart. It would be broken out a little bit different. But I think Kyle has a tip and trick for you with regards to recent call history. So Kyle, I'll hand it back to you.
Sure thing. All right. So when you end a phone call, you'll have an option to add some disposition codes and notes to particular calls. You can go back to add notes and disposition codes to calls. So if I go back to my recent call history and selected one of these edit notes buttons, I can click on that, and this one already has a disposition code in there and a reason. So what is a disposition code? So that allows you to tag a call for a particular reason. Was it a sales call, a demo call, a customer service call, whatever, those codes may be applicable to your particular organization. We can add custom disposition codes specifically for you as well. And why would those be important? Disposition codes and reasons are very important to an organization as a whole. So you get an idea of how many calls are coming in for particular reasons. How many demos did we schedule? How many sales calls did we get? How many support calls did we get? So that's why disposition codes play a valuable role to the call center functionality. And of course, you can add notes to these calls as well. Okay. If I click on Dan's note, this call here, you can select a disposition code. It's a callback, give it a particular reason. Call back Fred. And then now you have to go back, call Fred. Or if a supervisor would to look at your notes and disposition codes, they would know exactly what happened during that call and what was that call all about.
Absolutely. Hey, Kyle, just to interrupt here, we have another question from Angela. Angela says, I don't see this when I log in. And I think that's a great question, Angela, and thank you for actually asking it, because again, it will bring that back to the Votacall One solution. There's one user type, right, across the board, and everybody has access to every feature. Meaning, if we turn on different views for you, you can see different things. Okay, so if you're not seeing this page, and even though you're a member of a group, what that means is that you're not assigned agent status. So the agent status would be giving you this view of the groups that you're a member of. You can still be in a group, or a hunt group, or traditionally as you would call it, and not have it be the agent view. So you're probably seeing the standard view, Angela, and if that's something that you want to change and you think some of this information would be helpful to you, being able to log in, out, etc., then just reach out to us. Actually, we'll just reach out to you after this is over, and we can have a quick conversation about that. Go ahead, Kyle. Sorry.
Oh, awesome. Yep, no worries. So we're going to now take a look at our Vision Analytics board. So we have this blue button here. If I click on that, it's going to open up a separate tab. For call center agents, by default, you're going to have this agent stock board. It's going to provide you some of your own personal stats. You'll see how many calls handled, your average talk time. This will be for the last 8 hours. You can also see stats for the last 2 weeks. You have different graphs here. And down below, you'll also have access to see all the agents who are part of the queues and who's available, who's offline, and who's on a call as well. You can add custom stock boards. You can create your own stock boards too and add custom cards. That would be a whole different webinar, so we're not going to go over that today. But we will be back with a webinar specifically for stock boards at some point here in the future. The rest of these tabs here were covered in our previous webinar for the basic user. As Dan mentioned, the call center is just additional view based upon your permissions.
Okay.
Next thing I'm going to show you is the web
Before you
phone.
jump,
Dan, did you have something?
yeah,
Yep.
before you jump over, can you just click on call history all the way over to the right?
Sure thing.
Okay. What I wanted to show you here is that when we entered in those disposition codes, those are all showing up in your call history. So you can see disposition and reason all right there. Okay. And if there was a call recording, you would see that there too. And then you can actually get into the note all the way to the right. But a lot of times now we're not trying to replace a CRM, with regards to some of these disposition codes and some of the other things that we can do. But what you can do is leave yourself like some quick notes on, hey, who do I need to call back as you're going through your day, and leave some notes for yourself. And then as you go in and look at your call history, maybe tomorrow you go in and look at yesterday's call history and you see, oh, you know what? I need to call that person back today. Or I scheduled a demo with that person, or so on and so forth. So you see Kyle's got 2 callbacks from the last couple of days. So he would be able to say, okay, let me go in and just make quickly, I can call those people back. And he could call them just by going over to the left and actually clicking on their phone number. Right. So he could hit click to call, and then he would go ahead and he could actually make a phone call to them. So I just wanted to show you that in your call history, that stuff is there. And then your supervisor could also see all these there. So maybe if you are recording phone calls or something along those lines, you flag a call for your supervisor that says, please listen, good sales call. Maybe they go listen to it, or need help coaching, right? So there's all sorts of different things you could do with disposition codes. So when you start to wonder, like, how might I use those? And we're going to cover another company that uses those in just a few minutes in our case studies. But this is another place where those show up. Okay. Thanks, Kyle.
Yep. Perfect. All right. So I'm going to open up the Votacall Go web phone. I'm going to click on apps and select our web phone here. I'm going to minimize this screen so we get a good view here. So the neat thing about the web phone, again, is you can control everything that we just showed you on the call center tab. You have access to all your stats, your queues, and your queue toggle status. Here, if I click on online, you're going to see those different options. So if I want to go offline, I can click on, if I'm going on break, I'm going to click break. It goes offline and turns my queues red. I'm going to come back from break. I'm going to come back and simply click go online. And now I'm available in my 3 queues. Now, say, for example, I'm not going to take customer service calls, so I can just simply log out of that one particular queue, but be in the backup for customer service and still be a primary in the training queue. So as we saw, you can click on those buttons to log in and out. Over here, you're going to have some stat boards. So over here, if I click on my stats, you're going to have all your stats. And if I want to add a particular card to my board, I can click the plus sign here, click off of it, and now I have those right here in my primary view. So as I click through my other tabs here, I can still see my stats over here as well. So again, you can control everything from the web phone, your call center stats, your call center toggles. You'll have access to your contacts, your call history, your voicemail, including the visual voicemail where you can read your voicemail, play it, listen to it, and go back to them. So that is, in a simple view, our Votacall Go web phone. Anything else to add on that, Dan?
No, I think you covered it pretty well there. I mean, the idea here is that, the portal is probably somewhere that you would go if you were using a desk phone and you wanted to have some additional functionality. Now, if you do have a desk phone, we can give you a login, log out button just on your desk phone, and you don't need to come to the portal. But the portal does offer, we like to think that the portal offers a lot of stuff for people to come and look at and some, again, different access, right? And then the web phone is going to give you that same access. So you might use the same statuses, but you wouldn't need to log into the portal for that. You could just launch the web phone. Okay.
Absolutely.
Oh, I do have a question here. Sorry, Kyle.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Pamela wanted to know if can I use this on the mobile? Yeah, the answer is yes. So if you're on the mobile, you can use the mobile as your phone as part of the agent, but you would want to use the portal for now, the My Votacall portal. But just so you know, we are working on bringing those same things that you saw, being able to log in and out of the queues and see your statistics into the mobile view. But we're not quite there yet, but we'll let you know. If you keep an eye out for, we should be within probably the next, I don't know, 90 days or so, we should be doing a webinar on the new feature set that we're rolling out. And you guys will be able to come and see all the new features that we're rolling. And I would expect that to roll out then.
Awesome. All right, so up here on the screen, we have our training library. So we have several videos. It's votacall.com/one-training. We have a video specifically for the Go web phone for agents, including many other videos, just in general, the web phone, the portal, the mobile apps, etc. So feel free to hop in there anytime, take a look at our training videos. To see our previous webinars, you'll go to votacall.com, select the resources tab, go to on-demand webinars, and you'll have the option to register for our next upcoming webinars. And obviously, of course, take a look at our previous webinars down here as well. And hop on over to LinkedIn and give us a follow. Search for Votacall, click that follow button, and we do some updates. We have some fun posts going on there. So by all means, follow us on LinkedIn. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. We're going to hop over to our next part where Dan's going to share some customer success stories.
Okay. Well, thank you, Kyle. All right. So we're just going to take a look at two folks who are using call center agents, and we'll talk just very quickly about how they use them. Again, we really appreciate you guys coming here today, so we'll try not to keep you for too long. First and foremost, a very long time customer of a Votacall. We started them out on our Avaya product many years ago when they were a very small organization, and they've grown with us over the years. So we're in all of their retail, but we also manage their call center. Okay. And so what are they looking for from features and functionality, and what are they taking advantage of as an organization using the agent functionality? Well, they wanted to be scalable and flexible, right? So plug and play. And what does that mean? Well, they're a seasonal business in a lot of ways from a call center perspective, in that they obviously do a great business all year long, but when the holiday season comes, and Father's Day is another big one, when those seasons come, they scale way up in terms of the number of people that need to actually answer the phone, right? So they'll probably grow by anywhere from 300%, 300 to 400% in terms of the number of agents that they have. So you can imagine that would be taxing for IT. But as a managed solution, we help them scale up. And then from an IT perspective, they have a lot of folks who end up working remotely. So that's the anywhere agents portion of this. And those folks, as they're working remotely, can use our web phone, and they can there's nothing to install. Right. So from an IT perspective, we don't have to try to install a web phone on a bunch of people's home computers and those kind of things. They can just open up Google Chrome, launch our web phone as an agent, and really just work. All right. Now, from the agent dashboard, obviously, they can use that as well inside the web phone. Or if they aren't going to use their computer, they can use our mobile client, and they can use the My Votacall portal to see this stuff. And then they can also create some dashboards for themselves, so they can keep an eye, monitor themselves. The interesting thing about people is that if you give them the tool to see how they're doing, and they can see, okay, I'm doing well today, that makes people feel better. And, and the agent functionality allows you to do that. Now, we talked about somebody using, and we showed disposition codes. Vineyard Vines uses disposition codes quite a bit. And one of the things that they do is they actually have it set up so that after a call ends, there's actually a wrap-up time, and it pops up inside the web phone and tells people, it forces a disposition code. Okay. And one of the nice things about that is they can put in, okay, this was a new order, somebody was calling about shipping. And then last but not least, you actually can call Vineyard Vines and ask them to send you a whale sticker, and they will do that. So there is actually a disposition code for whale stickers. So a little known fact there. But if they don't do it anymore, please don't hold me to it. And lastly, queue availability and status, right? If you're managing people who you are not staring at, sometimes it's hard to know what they're doing. But, and so they split up responsibilities throughout the day. Somebody might go and attend to email for a little while. And so there's an availability status in there that just says email. So if I'm a supervisor, I can see, oh, that person's doing email right now. And that's obviously very, very helpful. So again, just different features because of the view that we're giving people here, and they can manage themselves. They can do a little bit of self-management. We can also give views to some supervisors that allow them to see some of these features and functionality that people are using. And all in all, it's a win-win for everybody. Now, the next one that we're going to talk about is a customer, and you can see clearly there, they were not a call center before Votacall. It's a Point Insurance. They're a multi-site customer. And, during the pandemic, they reached out to us. They actually were a client already, but they weren't using call center functionality. But during the pandemic, they had to change their business model because, they, instead of being autonomous insurance agencies where everybody kind of just either called up or walked in, things changed, as everybody remembers. So they reached out to our support team and said, hey, we'd like to change the way we do stuff. And by the way, that was this whole process that we're going to talk about was included in their Votacall contract, as we are a managed service. So I think that that's a great little side note there. But what they wanted was distributed coverage. So if somebody hit claims, they needed to be able to have 2 or 3 people answering multiple sites calls for claims. And so what we were able to do is set up different call queues to let you know, okay, this person called into the Brighton store, Brighton location, or this person called into the Framingham location. But you could answer it from a centralized location, being remote. So that, and we could route calls based on that. So skills-based routing, that's what that means, right? So if you're number one again, the priority, I think you saw that we added priorities there. So if we give you a priority 1 in claims, well, that's skills-based routing in a lot of ways. You're going to get the call that goes to claims first if you're available, and all the 2s would get that call second, meaning you're tied up or you've made yourself unavailable in that queue. And that brings us to agent log in, log out, right? So they were able to log in and log out of queues based on the time of the day or what they needed to do, so that people's phones weren't ringing off the hook at home. They could stay logged in, keep an eye on things, maybe check out for a few minutes, go do some other work. Maybe they're processing a claim and they want to jump out of the queue, still have some coverage. When they're ready again, they can log back in. And all of that just leads to an enhanced CX, which is enhanced customer experience. And that's really what this all comes down to, right? I mean, you can be a member, and you probably have been a member forever of a group of phones that rings. All we're trying to do is say, okay, you've got access to these other features that can help you guys enhance customer experience, whether that's internal or external customer experience. And those are just important things for us to keep an eye on. I think that's it. I don't see any more questions. I'm hoping that you guys had fun. We did turn emojis on, so if you guys can give us like big, little emojis. There we go. Some thumbs up. I love it. This is our favorite time. But if you do have questions, please, and you're shy now and you don't believe that no one will see it, and you want to just fire it off to us later, please do email support@votacall.com. We can't thank you enough for coming to these. We hope that you find them useful, and we hope that you guys are learning something today. Take it back. Think about whether it applies to you or not, or maybe you'd like to try it. Just reach out to us, and we're here for you. Again, it's a fully managed solution. You can reach out to us whenever you want and ask us whatever you'd like. Kyle, I'll leave you with the resources slide. Again, thank you everyone for coming.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's links to our training page that we saw just a few moments ago. There's 2 ways to contact support, support.votacall.com or support@votacall.com. There's actually a 3rd way you can call too. You can call 888-247-5500. And also there's a link to our webinars. So once again, thank you everybody for joining, and have a great day.
Thanks everyone.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.